Today, I want to talk about a situation that made me reflect on ethics, professionalism, and the ripple effects interpreters can have in someone's life. This is not a perfect story, it's a real one. And I think there's something we can learn from it. One of the ways we participate in our profession is by sharing experiences honestly, not just our successes, but the moments that challenge us. This was one of those moments. I was scheduled for a job interview assignment. The deaf applicant was seeking employment. An interpreter had been hired, not by the employer, but separately by an employment services office. This part is important because the employer was not aware that the interviewee was deaf until they arrived. The mistake, I arrived 25 minutes late. I had the wrong start time in my notes, a human error on my part, plain and simple. By the time I realized the mistake, I was already behind. When I arrived, the deaf applicant had also arrived only shortly before. Essentially, we were both late. There was a brief interaction in the hallway, and I interpreted that exchange. Ultimately, the interview did not proceed. Then the question started. Afterward, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I started asking myself questions. Was the interview really canceled because of timing? Was the employer uncomfortable with an interpreter? Would the outcome have changed if I had arrived earlier? These are questions I still cannot answer. And that uncertainty is part of why this experience stayed with me. A lot happened, and I may never know. On the other hand, part of me wonders whether my presence earlier might have made a difference. As interpreters, we often help people navigate uncertainty around communication and accommodation. Perhaps I could have answered questions, clarified expectations, or helped the interaction move forward. Or perhaps the decision had already been made. I don't know. And that uncertainty is what keeps bringing me back to this experience. Multiple factors were present: interpreter lateness, applicant lateness, employer perceptions, timing, access dynamics. One lesson here is that interpreting situations rarely have a single cause. Many factors can influence an outcome. Sometimes we know exactly what happened, sometimes we don't. Interpreters work in fragile moments of access. Many assignments occur during critical moments: job interviews, medical appointments, legal proceedings, educational opportunities. Small changes can have significant consequences. I think of interpreters as a hinge on a door. We're not the door, we're not the decision, we're not the outcome. But sometimes we occupy the space that allows communication access to open. The hinge is small, but the impact can be large. And that is where the ethical reflection comes in. The role itself may seem small, but the moment can be significant. What should an interpreter do next? Let's make this practical. When something goes wrong, what do you do next? Here's what I did. I called the location. I contacted the requester. I facilitated the communication that occurred. I documented the assignment. And I called the agency afterward. Professionalism isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's also about how we respond to them. Think about the code of professional conduct. Which tenets connect to this situation? Take a few moments to think about it. These are some of the connections I identified, but I'd love to hear what you see. There may be additional tenets or ethical considerations that stand out to you. Professionalism is not tested when things go well. Most of us can look professional when everything goes according to plan. But the real test often happens when things don't. The real test often happens with how we respond, with how we present ourselves, with how we take accountability, and how we move on to the next assignment, having learned or changed. Interpreters are human. We make mistakes, but our work has real impact in the lives of others. That's why reflection and thinking about the next assignment ahead matters. What would you have done if you were in this situation? Journal about it, have a discussion about it, or leave your thoughts in the comments. Sharing professional perspectives is how we learn. It's the reason I'm sharing this misstep with you. Growth doesn't come only from perfect assignments. Sometimes it comes from reflecting on difficult ones. So I want to thank you for joining me in this reflection. And remember, participating in our profession doesn't mean being perfect. It means continuing to learn, continuing to reflect, and being willing to examine our work honestly. Not because we need CEUs, not because someone requires it, but because our work affects real people, real opportunities, and real moments of access. The more we engage in professional dialogue, ethical reflection, and continued learning, the better prepared we are for the next assignment. And sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the assignments that didn't go as planned.